All right. Good morning. Today could be long, but I'll make it short. So today is Daf Yomi. It's 7:05. I'll have it out here by 7. Zok the Mishnah. Maybe even quick. Af. So I just look at the pause for a second. Right. Af asimlo haisa bechlal kol elo. Even a dress or clothing was included when the psuk, as the Gemara will soon ask, what this mission is going on. But even the dress, which is really unnecessary, was included in the general rule of lost objects, and it was named in the pasuk to return a dress. So kol elo. So it was included in the cloud. Why was it mentioned singled out? Right? To compare it to the others, and just like a simla, right, a dress, right, something that has simanim, and people can look at it and claim it and describe it. So to anything that is able to be identified with simanim and claimed and recognized, so too one has to go ahead and announce it. So like the Gemara, so my bichlal kolelu. What does the Mishnah mean when it says bichlal kolelu? Samarava bichlal kol avedas achicha. The pasuk says call any lost object of your brother, right? Then why does it mention also items, which we're going to assume single out? So Amarav Lamali Dechziga Rachmana Shor Chamor said the simla. It says over there an ox, a donkey, a sheep, and a dress. So Gemara says tzricha. You need to list all these. Because the Rachmana simla, if it just said simla v'minahani mili beidim begufa v'siman degufa, that the testimony is exactly something on the dress itself. And good morning, Yigal. How are you? We're on Daf Chaf Zayin.
Okay,
All right. Don't forget to put on mute. So you say, we just did the Mishnah, we just started, or maybe, 12 lines from the top, a little longer, 13, 15. So he says, because Rachman is simla, if the Torah would only said you have to return a lost dress, I would have thought I would have thought only if there was testimony regarding the item itself or the simanim on the item itself about chamor. Let's say I have a donkey that they ate in the ukaf, the simanim the ukaf, but the witnesses are really, they testify about the saddle, right? And the simanim, this is the type of saddles, my initials are on it. Say lo, maybe I'd say lo madrin, like so kasach different Torah, chamor bro donkey. The simani ha'ukaf, that even if the simanim are on the saddle of the donkey, then you can return that donkey with those simanim.
Are they saying that all donkeys look alike?
But no, it doesn't necessarily. If one could identify a donkey, that also works. But even the chiddush is the more standard way of describing a donkey is by its saddle. So therefore, you return it based on that. So the pasuk says, "Shor v'set because v'achman alamali." So what are shor v'set? So the gizas znava. Sure that an ox, even with the shearings of its tail, you can go ahead and you recognize the shearings came from this, the shearings of my animal. So therefore, even the shearings of the tail, you return it. And the and it said the sheep itself for its shearings. You're able to identify the shearings, then you know that it belongs to then it belongs to that owner. So the one says, I on a shore. Why don't you just write shore and ox? I feel like he's of a kosher cane selling right? And I was just make a simple kavachimer. If I know from the shearings of simply the tail, I have to return the entire animal. Certainly the shearings of an entire animal that I would have to return. Salamarava, chamor, debor, really. Rabbi says you're right, and we have another the classic case of a chamor that falls in the pits. So over there he includes the donkey and anything else that falls in there, argues with the Rabbanan, also Caleb. So why is the word chamor over there? So the word chamor, debor, in the case of a pit, according to Rabbi Yehuda, and the set, and the word of set, the avedel dibrakol, and the word the set in our pasuk by lost object, according to everybody, is kasha. Is a kasha? No, there really is no chiddush from that. Fine. So Gemara says, it maybe comes to teach you. By the glalim, it goes to the bathroom. Maybe it's that's my my fertilizer. So Gemara says no. Glalim afkuri mafkir lahu, and then the owner is mafkir glalim as soon as it goes to the bathroom.
That's quick. I'd be mafkir right away.
Yeah. I siman hudasa. Maybe it's coming to teach us the Simana who does the boil on Simana the Rice of the Rabban. Maybe it comes to teach us our classic question, which we're going to ask on the bottom of today's page. Are Simanim that the signs that one describes an item, is that deraisa or a derabanan? So Kasser Achmana said the afilu b'simanim ahajina. So maybe the Torah, that's why the Torah said to teach the even simanim ahajina. The simanim deraisa, and therefore you can go ahead and include the simanim deraisa. So I would say no. Tana, it says in our Mishnah, it says the simanim gabi sila the just like by a dress, right? It's unique that it can be described by signs or people can recognize it. You have to go ahead and announce it. So to any matter which you can describe it as a sign out, you have to return it. That says not coming for simanu because that's more on simanu, actually on simla, nothing to do with sa. Fine, two dots.
So what's the purpose of the pasuk mentioning Seher?
So the Rava said it's a kasha. Kasha according to Rava. Right. Everything else seems ready to be learned out.
It can't be that we're
That's why
identifying a superfluous word that we can't learn anything.
Like that's what the Gemara is doing. That's why it says Amar Rava Chamar Debor the Rabbi Huda the said the Aveda the Divrei Akol Kasha. That's why it says that anymore. Fine. Two dots. Tana Rabban. The pasuk says Asher, that which you lost. Right? So the pasuk says, right? That he lost from him and you will found it. So it says Asher Toived. It says that which is lost to exclude an item that was lost that was not worth a pruta. You do not have to go ahead and return it. And Rabbi Yehuda says umatzasa, and you found it. That to exclude something that if you found something that's worth less than a pruta, you don't have to go ahead and return it. So my benayu, what's the nafkamina here? Some rabbi mashmos darshanika benayu. No, there is no nafkamina. It's just where you learn for the pasuk. One says that which you lost, that one says that which you found. And mar nafkale mi ashetavud, mar nafkale me vimatzasa. And there one learns from ashetavud, that which lost, the other one learns from vimatzasa. According to the opinion, it says that we learn for the words Asher Tavud. So hi umatzasa, my avile. What does he do with the what does he do with the word? And you found it. You know, he needs that, like the teaching of Ravanai. Umatzasa. When it says, and you found it, when are you obligated to return it? Mashma, right? When it comes into your hand, before as you pick it up. In other words, when you pick it up, that's when you're chayiv. Okay, so according to says you found it. That's what we learn. It has to be worth something that you found. So hi asher tavod my avilis. What do you do the part of the puzzle where it says that which he has lost? So it says no. Actually, we need that. Look to Rabbi Yechon. That which like Rabbi Yechon taught. Rabbi Yechon says where do we know that if an item gets swept away by the river, shimu teres, you can go ahead and you can keep it. Shneimai, the pasuk says, it says all of your avedas achicha shetavo, that which he lost, mimenu, from him, umatzasa, and you found it. So misha aveda haimenu, so what items do you have to return? Items that are lost to your fellow man, but are found by other people. So Yatzazu Shavu the Hayman of Hainamatsu called them. And that was for this because it's washed by the river, it's lost to him, and it's also lost to everybody. How does he know the drasha of matzasa is you're obligated only once it reaches your hands? And vimatzasa from the extra vav of umatzasa. And the other one, according to the chiddush of Rabbi Yechon, that it can't be lost to everybody, or else you can keep it. Manale. So nafle mimenu. Right from it, in other words, it says "Ashitava mimenu." So the idach mimenu loy mashmalei. The other one says no. The word mimenu is not darshan anything. Around 7 lines from the bottom. Rava Omar, fourth word of the line. Rava Omar pruta shahu. What's the difference between if you learn that it has to be a pruta when you the one who lost it, or versus the one who found it? So Rava says pruta shahu something that was worth a pruta. And then, because of inflation, it lost value. It's no longer worth a pruta. So That's the Gemara. Man that one says that which you lost an item has to be worth a pruta ika. Then it would be a chayv to go ahead and return because it was when the time you lost it was worth a pruta. So the one says no, when you found it, there is no obligation because when you found it, it was worth less than a pruta. So but nevertheless, even the one who says that when you lost something, you still have to find something of value. And you don't have that there. So Ella, okay, fine, scratch it. Let's say pruta shukra. Let's say you lost something that was only worth 3/4 of a pruta, and then it went up in value. It's now worth a pruta. Ika b'nai. That maybe that's the difference. Man, the other was and you found it ika. Then you have to do it because it went up in value. By the time you found it, it's ready with the pruta. Man, that what you lost. He didn't lose anything that was worth value because it was worth only 3/4 of a pruta. But even according to the opinion of holds, at the time you found it, it was worth a pruta. How about he has to lose something. You have to lose something, and therefore he has to lose something which is worth a sheva pruta. But you don't have that here. Ella, rather, what's an afkamina? Pruta shahukra v'huzla. Something that was worth v'chazra v'hukra. Something that was worth a pruta. Then he owned something worth a pruta. He lost it. And then after he lost it, it went down in value, right? And then it went back up to the pruta, and then it was found. So both at the time it was lost and the time it was found, it was worth the pruta, but in between it was not. That's the Ika Benayo. Manda Masher Tavo Ika. The one that says that what you lost was the pruta, there you have it. Manda Matzasa, that you found it, but Inon, these base Shirmatzia Mishasa Veda Vachas Matzia. In other words, when does it mean when you found it? In range, you have to find something that was worth a pruta throughout, and that was not in the scenario because it lost its value temporarily. Fine. Bottom line to that. Iloilu. Simanim de Raisa or Draban. Our simanim, when one comes and gives, you have to return the lost item. So can one just give signs, identifiable signs on the object? Is that it recognized as midaraisa from the Torah? So my nafkamino, what's nafkamino? But deraisa Draban, you got to return it. Because I'll say return. The guy he describes it, he returns it. So the answer is no. La Dura you should be simanim. Let's say there's a get of a woman and she gives the signs, oh, this is what it looked like, and I already received it. So if you say this is deraisa, simanim deraisa, so therefore deraisa, you're obligated to do it, and therefore deraisa, she's considered to be a Doris woman. Right, but it could be another woman with the same name and with the same town. Right. But if she's able to describe it, then maybe that she received it. But even now, let's say she was getting out for the first time. But if it wasn't meant for her, then it's not a kosher get, and therefore, right? She
gives him money.
If she gets the money and she's saying, I already received this, I just dropped it. So how do we know it was yours? And she describes it. So okay, it must have been yours. They give it to her. So if simanim is deraisa, then we allow her to take the get back, right? She wouldn't be able to know the simanim if she didn't receive it yet or haven't seen it yet. And the Gemara says, "Via Marta the Rabban, we only say Rabban, Kiyab the Rabban Takanasa, but Mamaida. Maybe actually Rabban says Siman Amor is only in the case of monetary case of Isura, but when it comes to Isurim, like to allow the woman to go ahead and remarry to say she's a divorced woman. Lo Abed Rabban Takanasa, the Rabban, perhaps the Chazal did not make this takana. So Toshma, come listen. The pasuk says, let's look at Mishnah. The Zafa Simla Haisa Bichlal. Simla clothing is really included in the general of any lost item. So kol helu v'lama yatsa. So why was it singled out? Lahakish love l'malachah masim l'michas sheish b'sim l'veish toiv v'nechayv It's just like siman, just like a dress. You can go ahead and identify, and people can go ahead and recognize. They can testify. Therefore you have to announce it. Kol davar sheish l'siman l'veish toiv v'nechayv. So to everything, and tana toivin, and therefore toivin. It's riklet. So the point is, you see it here clearly. The word simla teaches you simanim, and therefore simanim are deraisa. So Gemara says no, Tana Toivim. Maybe it's talking about the case of Toivim. Maybe just with Adam, with people testify, that is midaraisa of simla. You mentioned simanim. That simanim nasma. That was just mentioned. It wasn't really mentioned as that was a deraisa itself, but perhaps it's a deflection. Perhaps it was just mention it, nonchalantly, but not really. It's midaraisa. Oh, let's try another one. So Tashmak, I'll listen to Chamar with Simani Ukev. So the Gemara says, by donkey you can describe the saddle. Then you return the animal. So you see that's the midaraisa. That's what we learned midaraisa. So you see Simana deraisa. The Gemara says, maybe it just doesn't mean the Simanim. Rather, maybe it just means two people testify about it. So Tashmak, I'm listening via Imcha Adre Shechicha. And the item shall remain with you until, right, your friend, until he claims it. I understand. What's the judge meaning? What, I should give it to him before he claims it's his? How do I know whose it is? Ella Darshu, rather we go ahead and we interrogate the guy, Ain't a Ramai, right? So whether he's lying or not, then you just have to make sure that he's the real owner. So my love is simanim. How do you go ahead and check it? It's not through simanim. You see, therefore we learn since it's learned from the pasuk, it really is simanim deraisa. Whereas it's low be'edim with witnesses. So we keep deflecting. So Toshmak loans and aim edim parts of aponim. You can only go ahead. So it says over there regarding a man was married to a woman. The guy died, let's say at war, and someone saw the dead body and he saw the face. So aim edim al parts of aponim imachletim. Right. In other words, you can't go ahead and testify. Unless you have to go ahead and you have it on the entire face with the nose. In other words, you have to be able. You can't just see the eyes and say, "Oh, I saw the husband was dead. I saw the eyes." You have to see the entire face with the nose. And simanim begufo, even though there are simanim, different signs on his body, it looked like his body or the caleb or his clothing. So shlami no simanim lav deraisa. So if simanim deraisa, I can just go ahead and describe the body. But I didn't. But over here, he says you can't use the body. You only have to be parts of a face. It must be simanim not deraisa, and therefore the woman cannot go ahead and get remarried. Somebody say no. Maybe those simanim are not specific enough. Gufa means darach megaras. Yeah, it looks like he was tall or he was short or fat, skinny, and kalov. And I am able to identify his clothes. That was his his shirt. The chayishina l'sheila. We're concerned that perhaps it was a different guy, but borrowed your husband's shirt. And therefore, you're testifying that the dead person was wearing your husband's shirt. Yeah, great, but who said it was the dead husband? Maybe he lent it out. So wait, you're so worried about borrowing out. So how could you go ahead and return a donkey, right, by only describing the saddle? I mean, right, perhaps he's going to go ahead and lend it out. So says, so no, people do not go ahead and lend out saddles. Why? Because right, you go right, because it doesn't, everyone like gets sort of like molded to the body over time, and therefore, if you put it on a different animal on the donkey, then it will like start to, it will start to chafe or whatever. It'll be uncomfortable for the animal. So people don't necessarily go ahead and lend out saddles. So or you say Makela v'chiri v'sumki. Or maybe when it says it there, the description, it just meant the color. It wasn't something specific enough, and therefore that's the reason why you don't go ahead and allow her to remarry based upon the testimony of the clothes. Yeah, he was wearing black pants and a white shirt. That's not specific enough. So Elohadetani within a Bryce, it says Matsu Kasher Bekiza Barna give it Tavazo Matsu being Kalov Afiz Mamaruba Kasher. If a guy, you can only use the get that was written for that woman. It has to be lishma. And let's say a guy was given a get to deliver, and then he lost it, and someone found it, and perhaps how do we know it's the same one? Perhaps it was someone with the same, coincidentally with the same name. So you found it tied to a purse or a signet ring or something, is able to go ahead and describe you, return it, even if a filas mamruba kosher. Now, if you're so worried about the people, lend it out, so kimatsu kasher b'kis, am I kosher? Why should it be kosher? Perhaps he lent out his wallet or his purse, and it was probably somebody else. The answer is people do not lend out their wallets, their purses, or their signet rings. Why? Right, because if it's like good luck, a person is like his mazel, his parnas, so therefore people don't lend it out. The tabas, and I don't want to let out my signet ring because you might use my signet ring to sign a couple documents. So the Gemara says, first wide line, Lema kitanoi. Let's say it's machlekes tanaim whether simanim are deraisa derabanan. It says Amy did not l'shuma. You go ahead and testify. Also, once again about a dead body, I believe. Al-shuma on a type of wart. Now you see a wart on the body, and you say, "Oh, I saw the wart on his face, and therefore he must have been the husband that died." So, so according to the Tanakama, you testify about the wart in the face does not work. Ben No, you do testify about it. So my lab is not machlokes. The Tana Kama Savar Simanam Derabban. It's only Derabban. Therefore, if I just give you testify about the wart, she's not a divorced woman because that is a Doraisa halacha. Ben Mavoy Savar Simanam Doraisa Simanam Doraisa. Therefore, I describe the wart. Therefore, and then the wart was on the corpse. So therefore, her husband is dead, and she can go ahead and remarry. Summer Rabba, no, the Kuliyam was on the Deraisa. Maybe it perhaps could be everyone knows the Deraisa. So Ive is Deraisa. Why can't you use the Shuma? The Shuma Matsuya, the Ben Gilu Kamifli over here. It's very common when you get older to get this type of a birthmark on the face. So Marsha Shuma Matsuya the Ben Gilu. One holds, and therefore it's not specific enough to go ahead and return it by. Well, my Shuma in a Matsuya Ben Gilu. Know that this worth is not found at someone's age. Or Iboy said the Kuliyam was Shuma in a Matsuya Ben Gilu. Really, it's not as common. However, over here, maybe the guy who died didn't have it, and then it basically, came about after his death, and therefore you're describing it as something that wasn't there before. Of course, not really your husband can be. Warts change after death, and therefore you can't describe it by a wart being present or not. No, they don't change even liachar misa. Or maybe words do not change even after death. The siman and the rabbanan really means everyone holds siman and the rabbanan. Over here, we're talking about something which is so distinguishable, or that even if you hold the rabbanan, that we know with 100% certainty that this is the person. One holds the siman muvaku, and therefore you return. Siman. Shuma lav muvako. The other one says no, it's not a siman muvak. And Amar Rava in Tim Saloimer simanim lav deraisa. Even if you want to go ahead and say lav deraisa, hechi ma'adrina avidas. Right? How do you? So even if you hold right, how do you go ahead and return an object with simanim? Right? Because it's just since it's good for the person who finds it aveda than the hada b'simanim. Right. In other words, a finder is going to be very happy if I can just return it based on someone describes it, then I'm done. Right. People want to return lost objects. They don't want to hold on to it forever. They want to take it and return it and get it off their plate. Right. So the finder, it's good for him to go ahead and be able to return something. And so too, just like if he loses something, so too, if he lost something, he wants to be able to and identify with simanim. Similarly, Rav Safra the Rav of Chiyadam Aisa totally asked him I understand your whole svara is based upon the fact that the finder will be happy to return to something with simanim. It's not your object to return to whoever you want, right? Just because it's inconvenient, we don't care. So Ella Balaveda, rather what it means is no, it's good for the person who lost the item. You have a simanim for in order for him to be able to go ahead and give simanim and then go ahead and take it back. Yada the Aiden Leslie, because he knows he doesn't have any witnesses that it was his. Right, and therefore he wants to be able to go ahead and describe it. Right, it'll say Kuli Dida. Right, no one else knows the siman. Therefore, I'm going to go ahead and prove it. I'll give the siman and muvakim and that I'll be able to go ahead and take it. That we're going to the mission of right? A person borrows from different people. All of a sudden, the three documents are found. The Yoel Goldberg borrowed from Meir, Yoel Goldberg borrowed from Rami, and Yoel Goldberg and borrowed from Alan. Right? You return all the documents to me. Right? And three people borrowed from one person. I lend out to three people, and all the documents are found together. You return that to the lender. Right, because I understand. So your whole point was before that's good for the person who lost it to be able to go ahead and he'll be able to identify it. So why is it good for the borrower, right, to be able to? Why is it good for the borrower to go ahead and return all the documents to the lender? If the documents are with the lender, then he's able to go ahead and collect on it. If it's with the borrower, that means it's already it was already paid. So why is it being returned to them? Over there, it's a separate svara. Right? One person borrows from three people, and then you find all three documents together. You return to the borrower. Why? Right? It wouldn't make sense for all three documents to be together unless it's by the person who borrowed from three different people. But if I borrowed from the three of you guys, and all the documents are found together, you don't say, return it to Mayor of Rami and Alan because it's not common that three of them will be found together. So therefore I learned from there that the malva was itself in the malva And shlosh love echad yakser, and one person who goes ahead, and three people that love from echad yakser lamalva, you return to the malva. The gabi malva shchichi gabi loiva shchichi. Over there, will be covered by the malva, not the lova. So therefore, both those cases have nothing to do with the case whether it's simanim or not, or whether the needs or wants of the bower. Rather, you just return to the one who's most common by. All right, we'll stop over here. Turn to continues. Shkoyach everybody, and 7